Dare any of you, having a matter against another, go to law before the unjust, and not before the saints? Do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Know ye not that we shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life? If ye have judgments of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are least esteemed in the church. I speak to your shame. It is so, that there is not a wise man among you, no, not one that shall be able to judge between his brethren. But brother goeth to law with brother, and that before the unbelievers. Now therefore there is utterly a fault among you, because ye go to law one with another. Why do ye not rather take wrong? Why do ye not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded? Nay, ye do wrong, and defraud, and that your brethren. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor the effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. And such were some of you. But ye are washed, but ye are sanctified, but ye are justified in the name of the Lord Jesus, and by the Spirit of our God. All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. Meats for the belly, and the belly for meats, but God shall destroy both it and them. Now the body is not for fornication, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. And God hath both raised up the Lord, and will also raise up us by his own power. Know ye not that your bodies are the members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them the members of a harlot? God forbid. What? Know ye not that he which is joined to a harlot is one body? For two, saith he, shall be one flesh. But he that is joined unto the Lord is one spirit. Flee fornication. Every sin that man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? For ye are bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. Amen. It was 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Boy, does it have a message. By the way, this is Monday, August 4th, something like that. Monday, August 4th, 2014. This is your host, Mike Callahan, that doesn't know what day it is. And this is the Watchman News. Boy, do I have a show for you. When I made the announcement on Facebook, Evil Book, I said I need your help. And I will get to that later. What I need your help with is spreading a message, because some of the things that I have in the show this evening need to be spread far and wide, and I need your help to do that. Mankind needs your help to do that. God needs your help to do that. We need to spread this information. We need to spread it as far and wide and as fast as we can possibly spread it. So anyway, before we get to the news, had some interesting things going on today. I was a bit hard on myself today. I read 1 Corinthians 6, and I was thinking about judgment, and I was having an issue with judgment today. I've been constantly finding myself judging a few different people, and I've been constantly being hard on myself about it. And well, it's interesting because no matter how many times I read over 1 Corinthians 6 today, I missed the very first verse. I missed the very first verse. I probably read it 15 times. And that first verse just did not sink into me. I was having a judgment with the world today. I was thinking, how can people just not see what is going on right around them? How can they not see all these signs? Especially when there's so many, not just myself, but so many people that are pointing them out to them. So I was having a bit of an issue with judgment, and I was being hard on myself about it. And so I posted a song earlier on my personal Facebook page by a group called Everything in Slow Motion, and the name of the song is Speak. It's interesting how mysterious God works, His ways. And so shortly after I had posted that, a friend on Facebook that I really don't know that well had made a post as well. And what the post was is it was one of those meme things, and it said Bible trivia. In what language was the New Testament originally written? And it had 4 choices: Aramaic, Hebrew, Greek, other. And I knew the answer to it. I was kind of excited to answer. And anyway, I was really down on the thoughts about mankind and stuff like that. And a lady from London had chimed in, and we had a little conversation, and in that conversation she was very happy with her new church and told me about how much she's grown spiritually, and it was amazing because I realized at that moment that God was speaking. He was speaking. And I realized that He was trying to give a message. So, I guess I really don't know how to word this. One of the people that I've had an issue with judging is the mother of my 2 youngest boys. I just can't understand how selfish someone could be. I can't understand how they could be so selfish to deprive their children of their father, of a loving, good father, just out of spite. And it's hard not to be judgmental in that. But I do have a message. I do have a message, and it's right there. 1 Corinthians 6, verse 1. Dare any of you, having a matter against another, go to law before the unjust, and not before the saints. I don't have to worry about it. God will judge her. Hopefully God will return my children in my life, and let me allow myself to be a part of their life and to carry on in their lives. I pray for that very much every day. So anyway, there's another part of this, another part of a message that I have gotten, and I guess before we really go any further, let me play a video that that a politician has said, and maybe it will understand or help you understand a little bit more of where this message comes from. So this is going to be, I forget the gentleman's name. Just like I'm not a fan of football teams or baseball teams, I'm not a fan of politicians either. This is Representative Trent Franks, and he uploaded this August 1st, and take a listen.
Mr. President, last month, 55 of my colleagues and I sent you and Secretary Kerry a letter asking that you actively prioritize security and humanitarian support for the Christian community in Iraq. We specifically warned you of the dangers and brutality of the terrorist group ISIS, who are now rampaging across Iraq and terrorizing the vulnerable Christian population. In the letter, we specifically pointed out that, quote, parts of Syria and Iraq that have previously fallen under the rule of ISIS have witnessed summary execution, beheadings, and even crucifixions, and that, quote, absent immediate action, we will most certainly witness the annihilation of an ancient faith community from the lands they've inhabited for centuries. Tragically, Mr. President, you simply ignored us again, as you've done so many times before. And now ISIS, the group you once likened to a junior varsity basketball team, is beheading its way across Iraq and has declared that there would be, quote, nothing for the Christians but the sword if they do not convert. Mr. President, last week ISIS torched an 1,800-year-old church in Mosul and deliberately and insidiously destroyed the historic tomb of Jonah. Last Sunday, for the first time in 1,600 years, there was no mass in Mosul. The head of Iraq's Christian community, quote, said, for the first time in the history of Iraq, Mosul is now empty of Christians. And now images of ISIS beheadings, crucifixions, rape, torture, and mass execution are all over the internet and social media. Just yesterday, I met with a group of NGOs based in Iraq who told me that ISIS recently beheaded 6 Christians and then proceeded to play soccer with their decapitated heads. Mr. President, the ISIS targeting of Christians has been systematic and horrifying, and Iraq's Christians in the region are now nearly extinct. It can rightly be called targeted religious cleansing, and sir, it is a crime against humanity. And yet, Mr. President, we have not heard a single word from you. Even as a literal Christian genocide is taking place at this very moment, you have not uttered even one syllable about what your administration is doing or planning to do to relieve or protect these persecuted Christians in Iraq. So now, speaking and pleading with you directly, sir, I once again repeat the words we wrote in our letter to you a month ago. We urge you and your administration to urgently and actively engage with the Iraqi central government and the Kurdistan regional government to prioritize additional security support for these particularly vulnerable populations and provide emergency humanitarian assistance to those affected communities. Absent immediate action, we will most certainly witness the annihilation of an ancient faith community from the lands they've inhabited for centuries. Mr. President, if you continue to ignore this Christian genocide in Iraq, history will record that it was you who idly stood on the sidelines and knowingly let it happen.
Now, I don't represent any politician, nor does any politician represent me. I represent God, and Jesus Christ represents me. Amen. But I will say this, and I hate to ruin your birthday for you, Mr. Obama, but I've got a message for you. And I've got a message for all the leaders of this world that are doing evil, that are following evil. My Father's coming. He's not very happy. It frustrates me. It really frustrates me. But that's my flesh. So anyway, one other small bit before we get on with the news. I'd like to ask everybody to pray for Michelle. She's not feeling real well, and thought maybe some prayers might help. I know I've been praying, and I hope she gets better soon. So let's get on. Yesterday I did a over 3 hour long show, and I focused a lot on Ebola, and I missed Suspicious Observers. I didn't play their news. If you didn't catch it, there's something going on with News in 2 Minutes. I'm not quite real sure what they're doing. Apparently they've got some projects in the works. A little bit vague on their announcement that they made. I did play that during the news yesterday. So let's get along with Suspicious Observers for today. And this time I actually show the video of it. Sounds like fair use to me. How's that sound? All right, folks. Suspicious Observers.
Good morning, folks. A tiny filament eruption on the Sun was the most active space weather event of the day, and it did sail mostly north, straight up and away from our planet. There's plenty going on down here. The death toll in that China quake is nearing 400 people, thousands injured, 12,000 homes destroyed, and some areas losing half the buildings in their towns. The larger quakes did die down, but South America took a minor swarm. We did indeed also have a volcano eruption in Japan, right where the typhoon is heading. Speaking of the typhoon areas, Korea under the gun again today. Well, that leaves no excuses for Nakri to take its time anymore. The charge north is about to begin for the stronger storm. Meanwhile, the Central Pacific, we've got Isel and Tropical Storm 10 to the right of it. Isel is now a Category 3 hurricane and headed perfectly for the Hawaiian Islands. By this point, one hopes everyone there is getting ready. It also appears that if the second storm survives long enough, it too will be on track to hit the region. Meanwhile, Bertha is alive and kicking in the Atlantic. This one should miss the U.S. coastline and swing up to clip eastern Canada, actually. Hopefully it will be weakened by then. It appears to be a lighter day in Australia and New Zealand. The storms appear to be moving on, although the satellites do show the North Island still seeing a bit of the lingering clouds. One of those North Atlantic lows is drawing a convergence straight south and is the major Euro weather watch right now. You can see how the storms pop along that line, and that's what's causing the flash flooding in areas from Bulgaria, Romania, over to northern Italy. Precipitable water in the desert. The airflow is such that it's going to build and spread north to make some significant flood watches today in the west. Showers and storms will be found across a lot of the land, however. Let's look at the magnetic connections to the Sun because it's an easy day to see Earth and Mars connected here from Earth's perspective, with Venus and Mercury having dotted lines indicating that they are magnetically connected to the non-Earth facing side of the Sun, the backside. Fairly clear to see here with the orbital diagram, Mars with us and the inner planets together on the other side. In the coming days, we'll see Venus and Mars opposed from a heliocentric point of view, followed on August 10th by Mercury conjoining the Sun geocentrically during the final supermoon. You see darkness departing up top and another swath swinging in on the south. These are the coronal holes. Let's take a look at their force. On ISWA's magnetic connectivity panel, the Earth-facing side is to the left, and we see the northern extension with medium power exiting, the southern incoming opening with some solid force. The two are separated, as usual, by the blue coronal fields you see here. And as you can likely tell with green positive and red negative, our days of positive influence in near-Earth space will begin to shift back to negative probably today. Sunspot number peaked out and should begin to fall, especially with some decaying sunspots. We see some areas where magnetic mixing is possible and perhaps even trying to happen unsuccessfully. Not much exciting at all, even on the north where the meeting point of the magnetics is not well developed in terms of the spots. Thus, solar flaring remains low. A major sunspot uptick passed with little more than a couple M flares. The solar wind remained relatively stable. If anything, perhaps a tiny interplanetary shock encountered Earth's magnetosphere just before 1600 UTC. We did have a couple jolts in the telemetry, but that's where our BZ tipped south a bit, which could indicate it was separate from the underlying stream. We saw it again a few hours ago, and the KP index nudged up just a bit. Zooming in on the big plasma filament, dark, thin, directly Earth-facing, with that smaller filament popping just to the south. The bigger one releases could produce a fairly large coronal mass ejection. And if you missed yesterday's news, it's very much worth going back to see. Pretty big announcement. Eyes open. No fear. It's 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
Seeing I missed that announcement that he made yesterday. I'm going to have to go back and view it myself. Again, always, or as always, the link is down in the About tab to go watch that video yourself if you missed something or like to go back over something. It's always there. First, I guess I'll start with a little bit of news from near, I guess you could say, my home state or in my home state. Belleville, Illinois, kind of crazy. This is where this world's gone, and I know we've seen a lot of this through the years, different little things, but it just seems like the intensity of it is definitely up. It's happening more often. FBI Ronald Avers, 68, hid needles in packaged meat at Belleville Grocery for the hell of it. Pardon the language. For 14 months, an elderly Illinois man has been sticking sewing needles into packaged meat at Belleville, Illinois Shop and Save, according to FBI investigators. Ronald Avers, 68, was jailed without bond Thursday on 7 counts of tampering with meat. Each charge is punishable by up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. FBI investigators busted Avers in the parking lot of Shop and Save, where they found an open package of needles in his Ford F-250 pickup truck with an Illinois disabled veteran license plate. Avers first told police he used needles to sew up tears in his pants when he goes camping, according to court documents. What on earth goes through somebody's mind when they do something like this? I just don't understand it. You know, I've dealt with a lot in my own personal life. I've had a lot of bitterness. You know, can't really say hatred, but I've had a lot of bitterness in my heart. I never once thought about just going and taking it out on innocent people. I just don't understand it. I just wanted to share that. I don't know. It just kind of stuck out in my head whenever I saw the headline. I thought it was very, very interesting. So let's get on to some more worldly news, shall we? Something been keeping an eye on. I've been trying to keep a close eye on what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, as well as Israel and Palestine, as well as the southern border. And I'll tell you what, the amount of news that is coming out about those areas are really, it's really cut down, and that's what piques my interest. Whenever something gets kind of shoved to the back, that's what I'll keep an eye on. I've also been, as you know, I did quite a bit of a show yesterday about this Ebola virus, and that's what I'm going to be asking for your help with here in just a little bit. First, let me get to a little bit of news to do with Russia. Their Air Force, it would appear, began massive scheduled drills. Russia's Air Force has begun 5 days of large-scale military exercises in the south of the country. As the world's attention is focused on the conflict in neighboring Ukraine, Russian military has stressed that the drills were scheduled last year. These Air Force and air defense exercises are taking place in accordance with military preparedness plans for 2014 approved last year, the Russian Ministry of Defense said in a statement. For the first time ever, they were involved 3 military districts. More than 100 aircraft, including Su-27, Su-24, Su-34, and MiG-31 planes in Russia's array of military helicopters are rebasing themselves from airfields in the north and west of the country to create a massed force at the Auschwitz test site near Astrakhan. Don't ask me. I'm English. From there, they will carry out multiple sorties that will take tactical and practical actions against ground and air targets using electronic and live weapons in unfamiliar conditions. The war games will also work to improve cooperation between anti-aircraft units and airborne equipment. So I just wanted to point that out, that they're kind of stepping up their game. And this may just be drills that may have been scheduled last year and all that. It was just something I wanted to point out. There's a little extra activity going on in their air, apparently. Something to keep a very close eye on is what's going on over there, because I'll tell you what, I think anybody that's been paying attention to what's going on in the world and the news know that we're edging closer and closer each day to World War III. And each one of these teams has been stepping up their game with their exercises and different things they're doing. And it's kind of hard because every day, you know, like with this show, every day we start a new show, 7 o'clock. We got new topics, new things we discuss. And it's hard sometimes for people to remember all the different things from previous shows, but I covered about U.S. military and how the Navy is doing all kinds of exercises off the coasts, and it's very interesting how they're positioning the ships, and there's a lot of talk about different reasons why they may position the ships where they have, including, and probably one of the most important would be positioning themselves in case we had an EMP event happen in the country. And that's something I always tell people to keep a close eye on, be vigilant about, and be prepared for it, because that is something that I definitely see happening in this country. It's a large-scale EMP attack, whether it be by our own government or by another government. So I just wanted to take you to Russia, so to speak, for a little bit. Another little bit of news that RT had that I believe it was today. We'll look at the date on it. Yes, today. Sovereign citizens seen as top terrorist threat by U.S. law enforcement. This is getting frustrating. Okay, anybody that believes in our founding fathers and our freedoms and our liberties and God are terrorists. This is absurdity at its finest. At its worst, I guess. It's really crazy. Hang on for a second. Ooh, interesting. Okay, thank you, Stephanie. I will be adding that. By the way, yeah, you know me personally on my Facebook. Hit me up anytime you have any information for me. As always, Skype and Uber are running. My ID simgameit information's in the About tab. Hit me up at any time, especially during the show. Stephanie, I will be including that here in just a moment. Thank you very much for that information. Thank you. So with the sovereign citizen thing, the sovereign citizen movement is considered the top threat for domestic terrorism, according to a survey of state, local, and tribal law enforcement agencies. Islamist extremists and militia patriot groups are on the top 3 threats to communities in the United States, considered most serious by 364 officers of 175 state, local, and tribal law enforcement entities. According to a survey conducted by the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism. Wow. They've got names so long you can't even, you know, they're tongue twisters. The survey, Understanding Law Enforcement Intelligence Processes, found that 52% of respondents agreed and 34% strongly agreed that sovereign citizens was a serious terrorist threat, as opposed to 39% of respondents who agreed and 28% who strongly agreed that Islamic extremists were the most serious threat. A previous sample on terror threats taken in 2006 and through 2007 found that sovereign citizens were the 8th most serious threat to non-federal law enforcement. Islamic extremists led that survey's threat index. Let me explain something to you. Sovereign citizens, the people that have these mindsets, and again, I don't belong to any club or any particular group, but, you know, these guys want to take over the country and leave you alone, okay? And that's the truth of it. They want to take over the country and leave you alone. Let's look at what they're associated with, right? Let's see. The latest survey found that while sovereign citizens as a whole have moved into the top position overall, the threat posed by many individual groups that are considered part of the broad movement has decreased since the previous survey. Although estimates about some groups were a serious terrorist threat increased comparing the two time periods, left-wing revolutionaries, extreme anti-abortion extremists, the concern about whether most groups were a serious terrorist threat actually declined for most groups, like the KKK and Christian Identity, neo-Nazis, racist skinheads, extremist environmentalists, extreme animal rights extremists. This is nuts, okay? These people want they want our freedom back, the way we're supposed to be, right? And we're being told that they are our enemies. And I'm not necessarily supporting the sovereign citizen movement. Again, I don't represent nobody. Nobody represents me. Not anybody of this earth. However, come on now. This is getting a little bit absurd. This is getting a lot absurd. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. I've seen that today too. So now on to the news about Ebola. We're gonna be covering that quite a bit. And once again, I want to thank Stephanie. Told me that, well, she was a nurse for many years. Her friend works in the hospital. They've been telling me that they have been told not to wear gloves or masks when dealing with patients in her department, which is X-ray apparently. There's a new public relations ploy so they seem more reachable. That sounds that sounds pretty dangerous. That's a pretty dangerous precedent to be working under, especially with all the information that's coming out. So figured I'd pass that on. Hope you don't mind, Steph. So let's get on to this. Do I have my screen? Yeah, I do. Wanted to make sure I had the screen up so you could see what I'm looking at. Well, actually, not what I'm looking at. Just one particular page is looking at. Because I get to look at a very beautiful picture on my desktop as well. Anyway, that's beside the point. So let's start with what we need to get spread out there far and wide and quick. Okay. I don't remember if I went over this yesterday at all or not. The human Ebola virus. Did you know it was patented? Most certainly is. By the government of the U.S. as represented by the Secretary of Department of Health. Interesting. Because, see, we don't get a patent on carrots. Why? Because that's all natural. We grow carrots, it comes out of the ground, it's natural. You can't get a patent on a frickin' carrot, okay? So, and you can't get a patent on potatoes or apples or, you know, and you don't get a patent on the common cold, and you don't get a patent on rabies that I know of. I haven't looked that one up. Don't hold me on that one. I'm not sure on rabies. But you don't get a patent on, you know, appendicitis. You don't get, you don't get a patent on these things because these are natural occurring things. This was made. Ebola was made. The link is down in the About tab for this page here, for this patent. You can go dig it up. I have looked. I know this is like a Google document. I have looked into this. I have verified this. This is an actual patent. It's much clearer, more plain, and a little easier to read in this Google document. So that's why I linked you to it instead. Again, I have personally went and verified this. As you can tell, it's a rather long document, but hey, it's government stuff. So anyway, please know that Ebola didn't just happen. It's not some kind of natural occurring thing. It was, I believe, it was a bioweapon. I believe that over years it has been worked on and developed, and I believe, to be honest, this is my suspicion, and I haven't had a chance to dig all the way through this yet, but I am working on it, and when I have the answer, I will let you know. But I do believe that this was a virus that they have been working on for quite some time, and the issue was in 1976 when it was quote unquote discovered, that it was only transmitted through the transfer of bodily fluids and stuff like that. I believe they have been working very hard to get this to a state to where it could be transferred through airborne methods. Okay, like somebody coughs, sneezes, you're in the room. There's a particular word for it, and of course, that just flew out of my head. Anyway, I do believe that they had worked hard on this to make sure that it is an airborne virus, and it's something that could spread very quickly, very easily, and that is very communicable. So just keep that in mind. This is paramount. This is big. This is huge. People need to know that this was created. It's not natural. It didn't just appear. Well, it probably did just appear one day in Africa, but it was taken there. Okay, it didn't happen naturally through animals or anything like that. Oh, okay. And okay, Steph said she didn't mind that I shared that. She would suggest that if you or me have to go to the hospital and they don't have gloves on when touching, you or myself, that you ask them to put them on. They have touched other people before you. And we need to be, thank you, Stephanie, yes, we need to be vigilant about things like this, okay? I just went over this nightmare. I don't have the link now. This nightmare. Oh gosh, I love this. It's a bacteria, nightmare bacteria, that is being spread like wildfire through hospitals right now. And always be vigilant, even with your own health care. You have to understand, when you go to these hospitals, when you go to these doctor's offices, there's all kinds of people that are going through there. And, if you have kids, right, you go to the doctor's office with your kids are all over, they're touching this, they're touching that. You don't have the only kids on earth. There's other other parents that have kids that are curious, just like your own. And so always be vigilant. Always, as she said, make sure they're wearing their gloves. I would make sure they're wearing a mask if you're in the hospital, especially. Be very vigilant. This is your health. This is, and with what's going on right now, it's of utmost importance that you're vigilant about your own health, and just keep an eye on things. Make sure that they're doing their job properly. That's the best way you can do it. So the next thing with the this big Ebola thing, this is from 6 ABC Action News out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Apparently, there is a gentleman who visited West Africa, had a high fever and gastrointestinal symptoms. He was placed in an isolation unit at New York Hospital. They don't think he's got Ebola, but the tests are out. It takes 24 to 48 hours to get the test back. Who knows? Who knows? I will tell you this. It's probably been released over here. There's suspicion that a lady, and supposedly tests came back from her and they came back negative, but a lady in the UK, I believe it was in London's Gatwick Airport, I guess she fell dead right there as she got off the plane. And so there's a lot of a talk about that going on right now. I can't confirm, I cannot confirm or deny whether or not she is a victim of Ebola. I will say, once again, be very vigilant. There's just something about this. When this first came out, there was just something that started tugging at me when this started really hitting the news. Something just started tugging at me with it. And many governments, not just our own, has been looking for a long time for a bioweapon that has the abilities that this Ebola virus does. It's sick enough, it's been one of their dreams, okay? So it seems like they've achieved their goal at a bioweapon that they feel is sufficient, okay? So just be mindful of that. If you go through and you look at different people of interest, whatever you want to call these things, they're very evil people in my mind. Some of the Rockefellers, Henry Kissinger, and if you listen to some of the things that they say about wiping the masses out on a planet, I believe it was Kissinger that said something like, if he died, he'd like to come back as a virus or whatever that would pretty much wipe out the human species. I'm paraphrasing here. I can't remember the exact quote, but just different things that they've said. They don't, study different things, keywords like eugenics, for instance. If you start looking into eugenics and stuff like that, it might give you a little bit more of a mindset or a little bit more of insight as into what their plans are. All you can do is research, be ready, be vigilant, be prepared. I've said that many times. So let's continue on. I know I hate using the phrase beating a dead horse, but right now I think we need to. I think we need to be getting some information out. So, did a top-secret serum save U.S. Ebola patients? 3 top-secret experimental vials stored at sub-zero temperatures were flown into Liberia last week in a last-ditch effort to save 2 American missionary workers who had contracted Ebola, according to a source familiar with the details of treatment. On July 22nd, Dr. Kent Brantley woke up feeling fevers. Fearing the worst, Brantley immediately isolated himself. Nancy Wright-Bull symptoms started 3 days later. A rapid field blood test confirmed the infection in both of them after they became ill with fever, vomiting, and diarrhea. It's believed that both Brantley and Wright-Bull, who worked at the aid organization Samaritan's Purse, contracted Ebola from another healthcare worker at their hospitals in Liberia, although the official Centers for Disease Control and Prevention case investigation has yet to be released. Yes, I know I'm reading fast. It's blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's get to what I know as closer to the truth. So now this story keeps changing, right? The first initial story, if you are paying attention, is Dr. Kent Brantley had a dose of this serum, right? And he passed it on to this lady, right? Wright-Bull. So he passed it, supposedly 1 dose. That's all he had, 1 dose. And he said, "Here, you take it," right? So now the story's changed. And the latest story is that, no, he had a dose and immediately started feeling better. I mean, just absolutely immediately. And from the latest reports, Ms. Wright-Bull has had 3 doses, not just the one that he passed on to her. So that's, I wasn't raised with Common Core in schools, and so 1 + 3 is 4, right? So I know today that don't count in today's school systems, but that's another topic for another day. But 1 + 3 is 4. So if they had 3 doses, then how did they get a 4? I don't know. The story keeps changing and changing and changing. I'm going somewhere with this, okay? Believe it or not, I have a plan. All right, so here's another report from another St. Louis news station. St. Louis is near my home area. So anyway, let me try and catch this video before it starts playing. So, oh, good, it didn't start. 3 top-secret experimental vials, here we go with 3 again, stored at sub-zero temperatures were flown into Liberia last week in a last-ditch effort to save 2 American missionary workers who had contracted Ebola. Okay, this sounds a lot like the last story. But anyway, when I saw this, they described it as a miracle drug, okay? Knowing his dose was still frozen, Brantley asked if he could have Wright-Bull's now thawed medication. Wow, now see, that's kind of the opposite right there. It was brought to his room and administered through an IV. Within an hour of receiving the medication, Brentley's condition dramatically improved. He began breathing easier. The rash over his trunk faded away. One of his doctors described the events as miraculous. Okay? Pay very close attention to that. One of his doctors described the events as miraculous. First off, only our Father can perform miracles. And I know that's not necessarily what they were saying, but I just wanted to point that out. So, why would that be, of course it's newsworthy, but why would they describe it like that? Why would they make it seem like this is, we got to have it? I'm going somewhere with this. Just follow the train. So anyway, another news article. Secret serum likely saved Ebola patient. Oh wait, no, that's the same one. I'm sorry. No. Can't believe I did that. Hang on here. Let me get that back. I can't believe I did that. I have to, let me bring that screen back. Only take me just a second here. That's what happens when you mess up. Okay. I apologize. This will only take a second here. It loves me, can you tell? Absolutely loves me. So let me just create another one here. I'll fix it. Just give me just 1 second. Window. That's what happens when you close out your screen before it's time. Not a good thing, I'll tell you that. Alright, so now it should, yay, we're back. Sorry about that. That happens. I apologize. I like clicking X's sometimes, you know what I mean? Okay, so what I wanted to get at, right, is there's something else that had happened. I'm not quite sure exactly when. I believe it was last couple of weeks or so. The FBI and police surround Michigan town with checkpoints, stop and question every vehicle. And I have gone over this when it was a little bit more fresh, okay? And that is showing up, right? Yep. Okay. So I did go over this when it was a little bit more fresh in the news, but I'm going over it again. Long lines of traffic formed as travelers attempted to enter or leave the village of Armada. Government agents roadblocked all routes around town and put every driver, I cannot speak, under scrutiny as part of a massive murder investigation. The blanket search, is what they called it, was conducted on the evening of Thursday, July 31st, 2014. Oh wow, that was not as far back as I thought. I cover a lot of news, folks. Swarms of FBI agents, Michigan State Police, and local police officers joined forces to create 3 massive checkpoints around the small community, causing traffic to be backed up for miles. The police action came 1 week after a local teen girl was found murdered in a drainage ditch on July 24th. Short on clues in the search for April Millsap's killer, investigators decided to stop, question, and document every traveler in town, car by car. Okay, first off, you need to know, and I understand, believe me, when it comes to children and the loss of children, I value that. If you were here for the beginning of the news, you would probably understand that. So I do value children very much. But My question is there's many children, and I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but many children that come up missing, and unfortunately many children that are found and no longer with us every day, and it doesn't get this kind of response. So I have to ask questions. What was it about this? Let's continue on. They're stopping every car both ways, and they're taking license plate numbers, names, and addresses. One resident named Brian told CBS Detroit, after being stopped by the FBI on Fulton Road, they're writing all this stuff down. They have a clipboard, and they're writing everybody's information down. It's not like they're just checking you and you go ahead. They're writing everything down. WXYZ reported the police scrawled an X on the hands of every person they had talked to. That's important. That is key. Now, if you go back and you understand, if you study a little bit about the procedures that FEMA uses and all that, you'll know about the X's that they paint on houses, and so just be aware. Be aware. I believe what they're doing, for one, is desensitization of the public, but I also believe what they're doing is practice. And it's sad that, to say that on an incident like this. I'm not saying that this is all a conspiracy, that, this poor girl and her family. I'm not saying it's all a conspiracy, but they will seize any moment they can get to get practice, to get insight, to get information, to desensitize the public. Look at what they're doing with gun control. Come on. They are seizing every little bitty thing they can get, shoving it in our faces with media and everything else, trying to get the public opinion against firearms and everything else, because that, believe me, the little pea shooters that we can have is not going to amount to much against what they have, but it's still kind of a pain in their butt, okay? So it would be a little bit easier for them if they could take away the firearms. I don't think it's going to happen too easily. But anyway, that's basically, I can go ahead and helicopter footage confirmed that lines of traffic were indeed backed up and around the town during the dramatic effort. While some found the police checkpoints comforting, others reportedly protested against the dragnet, according to WXYZ Detroit. Now, yeah, I would be protesting against things like that too, because that's kind of crazy. Had a nice little personal message. Anyway, so and then they're going to try, I'll use the word, legitimize this. Tracking down murder suspects is certainly a legitimate role of the local police, and every virtuous person would agree that April Millsap's killer should be found. Hey, I have no issue with that. I could even go further into that. What should be done to the killer when they're found? But I digress. The challenge that we continually face as a society is not only keeping the police focused on legitimate crime, as opposed to victimless crime, but also in performing this task while respecting individual rights. High emotion, panic-driven events undoubtedly present the easiest opportunities for the government to roll over innocent citizens' rights and privacy. And that's exactly what went on there. That is exactly what went on there. I'm not saying, look, oh my goodness. Stopping every single car, writing X's on people's hands is not going to find this poor girl's killer. It's not going to do it. I'm sorry. It's just not. We need to start asking ourselves, well then why would they do this? And you'll find answers. I think it's pretty well out there. I think I spelled it out for you. So why did I go into that? Well, again, I'm going somewhere with this. I promise you. This, and the link is down in the About tab. Department of Health and Human Services, fiscal year 2014. The PDF, if you look, it's from the hhs.gov. Okay, this isn't from some crazy conspiracy site, right? This is right from the government. I always try and bring you links that are direct. And this is as, this is as direct as it gets. So this is not a game, right? This thing's probably huge. I don't know. I didn't look. 140 pages long. Unlike, I'm not going to ask you to read it all. Unlike, I do ask you to read all of Agenda 21, all 351 pages of it. Thank you very much. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control F for find KISS. Why is that in there? Oh, I know why. I was looking for an emoticon. So anyway, I apologize. I'm going to put in the word BioShield. Okay? BioShield. It's found 46 times in this document. So you're wondering, okay, well, what's BioShield? Well, the FY 2014 budget request approximately $1.2 billion, that's with a B, for the ASBR $829 million in annual funds and $358 million in new multi-year funds for Project BioShield and pandemic influenza. The request supports continued investments in the advanced development of MCMs and diagnostics against CBRN threats, as well as implementation of PHE, MCE review recommendations. See, you got to be a doctor to understand some of this stuff. But 46 times the word BioShield is said in this document. 46 times. So that's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to download this document. I'm asking you to hold down Control, hit F. That'll bring up that little box you see. I believe you see that, correct? Let me take a look. Yes, it will bring up that little box that you see right here, and type in the word BioShield. And I want you to study what it says each time that word pops up. And then I want you to also keep in mind that our wonderful President Obama, happy birthday, he just expanded the reasons why you can be detained for medical reasons. And apparently now if you cough, you can be detained. So I want you to add all this stuff up together, okay? I will summarize. I showed you how there is a patent for the Ebola virus. It was a created disease. It was made in a laboratory. They've spent since 1976 to get this disease to the level that it's at today, this virus to the level that it's at today. Okay, so we have that. Now we have Obama expanding the reasons why you can be detained for medical reasons. Okay, now if you don't know, it's in the health care bill, it's in Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, whatever you want to call it. That they can make us take vaccines, that mandatory vaccines. That's in there. I've read it. I've read the whole thing, right? People complain because I want them to read 351 pages of the Agenda UN, or Agenda 21 from the UN, but I've read multiple times the thousands and thousands of pages of the Affordable Care Act. So I don't want to hear it. So anyway, you want to talk about something boring. See, with these documents, that's what they do. They load it up with a bunch of boring stuff, and then you just got to find the important stuff here and there. So, but I read it because it's what's important. To me, that's what's important. The football game, the baseball game, Lindsay Lohan, that stuff's just not important to me. Things that affect all of us in our everyday life, to me, and I don't mean affect us by the TV show we watch or the sports team we cheer on. I mean really affect us, so things that matter. I'll take one for the team. I'll read all that boring stuff. But anyway, 46 times the name or the word BioShield is used in here, and you can just kind of go through and Project BioShield, page 80 will kind of tell you what it is. We'll take a peek. Why not? Let's go down to page 80 here. See, and they go through, and as you can see, they're talking advanced research and development. They're talking anthrax, smallpox, broad spectrum antimicrobials, radiological and nuclear threats. Okay, then chemical threats. So animal studies. And then they're going to get down to the meat of it here on page 80, which will be right here. So Project BioShield, where they're probably going to go into a lot of detail. I haven't read this entire document yet. I need to do that myself. I just ran across this today, so I haven't had a chance to sit down and read it all. So that's my assignment, as well as the assignment that I give to you, is to read this. At least read near the areas where it says Project BioShield. That would be the important stuff. But I'm asking you, we need help. We need to get that Google document out there. A link for it's down in the About tab. Please get that Google document out there. Let people know that the Ebola virus was created in a lab. It's got its own little patent, and people need to know this. Also, they need to know about this Operation BioShield. They need to be reminded about the mandatory vaccination declarations in the Affordable Care Act. They're going somewhere with this, okay? This is not just all coincidental stuff that just, oh, the stars aligned, okay? It's just not working that way. So the other thing is, and I don't know if this is down there or not. If not, I'll look to see if it's in the About tab. If it's not down there, I will add it as soon as I get done with the show, I promise you. The wilderness survival skills everyone should know. I ran across this page today. I want to say it was the Prepper Chicks, God bless them, that posted it. I could be mistaken on that. But anyway, it has a wealth of information in it. Security, first aid, self-protection, physical needs. It's got YouTube videos and whatnot. Start learning what you need to do to be self-reliant, to be able to take care of yourself medically and in any way and every way. I mean, it's got physical needs, basic hygienes, navigational methods, which is huge. I'll tell you what, I've liked space and stuff pretty much all my life. I'm kind of into science and things like that. Been a science nut all my life. And I never did know how to find the North Star. And the other night, I guess it was, like a week ago, a man was kind enough to show me how to find the North Star. He may very well have saved my life, okay? Because now I can navigate in the dark. So he very well may have saved me. It talks about how to get rescued, stuff like that. This is just one page, though, but I thought it was worthwhile to share with you. I would highly recommend, especially on the medical end of things, that you go on YouTube and you subscribe to a lady that goes by the name of Patriot Nurse. You could probably spend a year watching her videos. They are very in-depth, they are very professional, and they are very accurate. Patriot Nurse, she's a godsend. She also has classes that she does that you can pay. I really wished I could afford to attend one. She has, I know, 2 classes. She's got her Medical Prep 101 and her Medical Prep 201, I believe is what they're called. However, you don't need to attend the classes. You don't. You go to her page and she's just got as much information as you could possibly need to know on a level that we would be at. I mean, most of us aren't brain surgeons. So, and I've watched a lot of it myself. I'll tell you what, one of the things to really hit, especially again considering all this stuff, would be she does some wonderful videos about antibiotics and stuff. So another note about antibiotics that some people may not know, I'm sure a lot of people don't know, is you can stock up on antibiotics right now. You don't need a prescription. What you do is you go and you go to, believe it or not, a pet store. Or go online, physically go into a pet store. Fish antibiotics are the exact same as human antibiotics. So there you go. You don't need a prescription. You'll find out that the prices are much cheaper, and you can stock up on antibiotics without that prescription, without the high prices and all that. Fish antibiotics, like Fish Mox is the name, I believe, of the amoxicillin You can go on the internet and look up fish antibiotics, and they'll tell you, which one is. And I'm drawing names, but they have they have amoxicillin, regular penicillin, doxycycline. They pretty well have all the antibiotics for fish. So that's something to keep in mind. It's something right now I would urge people to stock up on. Yesterday, during that 3+ hour show, I took you, and I can take you again real quick. Budk.com, just budk.com. Bravo. What is you? My goodness. Oh yeah, Bravo Uniform Delta Kilo.com. I'll get it right. Forgive me. So anyway, we went here yesterday. I showed you, and they actually have them. I've never seen it this cheap. It's just awesome. And I know this looks goofy, but if it's the difference between life or death, hey, I'll choose life. $13 in stock. That's M10M gas mask with filter and drinking tube. That's what I had bought for my family. No longer have them, unfortunately, but that's what that's the model that I had bought actually from this company for my own family. Was the M10M. There you go, $13 a piece. You cannot beat that. And I know they do have a deal where they have free shipping if you buy enough stuff at one time. So the other thing that I like to point out to get, they got nice little neat knives, swords, all kinds of crazy stuff. But the other thing I want to point out, and I literally, the American Express, and don't leave home without it. I really don't go many places without my life straws. I've got a bag that I keep my vaping supplies in, and if I'm going anywhere, even if it's just overnight or something like that, I always have my life straws with me. I keep them with me. Without that water, clean water, you're going to be hurting fast. And I know there's cheaper variants of this out there, and I'm not normally one to say, oh, go with this brand because it costs more money. But I would say go with the life straw because it's proven. It really does a good job of filtering the water. And it filters quite a bit of water for its size, 264 gallons. And if you don't have a different way of filtering water by the time you go through 264 gallons, I really don't know what to tell you. I've discussed it on this show. I've pointed to YouTube videos or told you can go and search YouTube and find videos on how to make a water filter using charcoal. The same, not match-like charcoal, but charcoal that, regular charcoal you would use for your barbecue grill, but without like any type of lighter fluid already added to it or whatever. You crush it up into a fine powder. Take like a 2-liter soda bottle, right? You flip it upside down, you cut the bottom off of it. Crush up that charcoal into a fine powder. You take a piece of material, say from like a t-shirt. Cheesecloth is what they recommend, however, but in a survival situation, take a piece of material like cotton from a t-shirt or something like that. Put it at the bottom of that, at the mouth of the 2-liter bottle, which since the bottle's upside down, that would be the bottom. Put about 4 inches of that crushed charcoal in there. Then take about 4 inches of sand, put it on top of that, and then fill up the rest with pebbles. If you could get like quarter inch to half-inch size pebbles or rock pebbles, put it on top of that. There you go. There's a makeshift water filter, a charcoal water filter that could very well save your life. Now that will only filter out the particulates, okay? That won't take out bacteria and it won't take out viruses. You need to boil the water for that. So you either use, of course, fire, unless you have a solar still or any kind of still of any kind to distill the water. I would recommend boiling the water, though, not distilling it, because you remove important things that are in the water. And actually, and I've heard both ways on this, but I've heard that it's not true, that if you just drink distilled water that you'll be okay. But what I've heard is if you drink distilled water and that's all you drink, what the water will do is actually pull the nutrients and vitamins out of your system. And I heard it's not very good for you. I don't know which way is true. I would tell you rather be safe than sorry. Just boil the water, don't distill it. but make sure you filter it first. So anyway, live straw on the go. It's a perfect thing to have with you. It's perfect answer basically. Search survival, 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 survival. Learn as many survival skills as you can. Join different Facebook groups like Prepper Chicks. It's not just for chicks. I really enjoy Prepper Chicks. They have a really great page. They have just an amazing amount of information. They're constantly sharing with people. I belong to a lot of groups along the same idea. So just join these groups, survival groups, prepper groups, different YouTube channels. Provide a lot of different information on different things. Join them. Start studying. I don't think that we have a lot of time left. I really don't. I just really don't. I believe that this Ebola virus is the genie that's going to get out of the bottle. And I really do see a lot of things going on in our country and in the world that are kind of, it's like they're sewing up the loose ends is what they're doing right now. And we're not in a good situation. So I would recommend that people just start studying as much as they can. Knowledge, faith is the number one thing. You have to have that faith. Go to God with everything. But I would say directly after faith, knowledge is what's going to save you. You can't rely on the government to save you. You can't, you probably can't rely on a neighbor to save you. I don't know who your neighbor is, but you're going to have to save yourself, both with the Lord and with your physical body. And you're only going to be able to do that through knowledge and preparation. And believe it or not, physical preparation is probably about the least one of those. You need to have your spiritual preparation. You really have to have that house in order. Mental preparation. You have to be mentally prepared for this. I even sit there and I think about it. I think about, wow, that's going to be rough. Not me, me not having the communication that I have today, not having these news sources, whether they be regular news or whether they be some different individuals that give me insight on things. So not having that communication is going to be a huge stress on me. That's probably going to be the biggest stress. It's going to be that loss of communication. So you have to be mentally prepared, because if you are not mentally prepared, you pretty much already lost that battle. Okay? Then you need to be prepared with knowledge. So you prepared with God, and you prepared to be able to accept things that you cannot change, and let's say you're calm and cool and you're collective. You've got to have the knowledge to go from there, okay? Because see, and I'm doing this in order. God's first, and then you have to be able to keep yourself, keep your composure, because if you can't keep your composure, all that knowledge and all that information and all those things you learned are going to be pretty useless. So that's got to be in that order. God, mental, knowledge, I don't know what other word to use, but knowledge, okay? And then physical. Yes, physical is the last one, because I'll tell you what, I can do a lot with very little. Okay, but I can do that through that knowledge that I've obtained. I've told you how to build a water filter. I could probably go within, without any doubt, within a 1 block radius of my location, and find everything I need to be able to build that water filter. So, just something to think about. Crazy little things. There's always crazy little things. You can search YouTube on there's 2 things I'll share with you real quick. Little bitty important bits of information to know. Canned goods, right? So, let's say you have a can of chili mac, and you've got a way to, you wouldn't even need a way for a fire, but let's say you got a can of chili mac, but you don't have a can opener. I happen to have some P51s, and I suggest you order some P38s or P51s, military can openers. Go to Amazon, eBay, wherever, get you some. But anyway, say you don't have any of that, and you got this can, and you're really hungry, and you'd like to eat what's inside that can. All you have to do is take that can, put it on a concrete surface, and scratch it back and forth on that concrete surface. That concrete will grind down the metal lip on that can. Once you start seeing liquids coming out, if there's liquids to come out, flip the can over, and you should be able to work with it with your hands to get the top popped off. There you go. Right there's, a can opener that you can find about anywhere you go. Another thing, you might want to search Google or YouTube for this so you can actually see somebody do it. But you can use a soda can, right? You can take a knife or something sharp, and you can cut out a little bit of the aluminum on the side of a soda can, and you can actually wrap that around the shank, which is this, the straight part going down on, say, a padlock or a combination lock. You can actually wrap that piece of can around that shank and shove it down to be able to go in between the latch and the hook on that padlock or that combination lock and be able to get that open. That could save your life. There might be a sandbag inside that shed that somebody had stored in there to throw in the back of their vehicle during the winter. That might be where your sand is that you need to get. That might be where your charcoal is that you need to get. You might find many, many other things inside that shed, including tools. That's something I try to constantly remind people about. They need tools. Hello, Michelle. Tools. They are important. They're just as important as knowledge. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have tools to be able to put that knowledge to work, you're going to be in trouble. Okay? It's kind of hard to make a half-inch wrench out of a piece of, a stick of birch or something, They don't hold up too well, and it's kind of hard to forge wood. But anyway, just trying to be humorous. Tools, it's important. I myself, like I had spoke, I believe it was yesterday, I've got a Leatherman. That's all I've got. I didn't even get my good multi-purpose tool. When I left Alabama, I had a real nice multi-purpose tool. Why I didn't grab that, and I grabbed this little cheap, little bitty one, I have no idea. Sitting here playing with it. That's it. That's what I have as far as tools, is a little bitty Leatherman. But you know what? I'll tell you what, I can do a lot with this little bitty Leatherman. So, again, that stuff I'm not worried about, because a lot of other people aren't worried about that stuff. A lot of people's not going to be worried about charcoal. A lot of people's not going to be worried about sand. They're not going to be worried about pebbles. They're not going to be worried about half-inch wrenches or screwdrivers or pliers. They're not in the beginning. They're going to be worried about food. They're going to be worried about water. They're going to be worried possibly about shelter. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have all these things prearranged, ready to go, so you can go right to it. You don't have to worry about those things. So you can spend your time, for one, avoiding the masses during the onslaught of anything that goes on. And this covers whether it be an earthquake, an EMP, a pandemic. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as you're ready to go, you can avoid the masses. And that's going to be the first priority that you want to do, is avoid the initial rush of people, because they're going to be going crazy. I played a video yesterday of what it was like in Toledo, Ohio, about the store shelves being empty of water and all that. And I played another video for you of a trailer park in, I don't remember where, Washington State or something like that. They've been out of power for 1 week. And this is just one trailer park, right? One trailer park. There's gas stations still open, Walmart's still open, grocery stores still open, all these places still open. Places outside the trailer park had electricity. So, this is just, and people are going nuts. They're fighting each other. I said health, I apologize. But, so people were pulling knives on each other, right? I mean, this is absurd. This is one trailer park, and everything else is still okay in the land of the United States, right? So, for all the people that say, oh, well, if this happens, everybody will work together, they'll get along. Look, it's not going to happen that way. Society was driven to this. This is all done by design. You can tell me I've got a tinfoil hat all you want, but I can put 2 and 2 together, and I can look at all the different things that's gone on in the last 20 years. I can look at it and I can watch society. Society was purposely dumbed down. Do you think Twitter is just something cool that somebody just came up with? No, it wasn't. Psychology is a very important thing to know, especially in this situation with what's going on now, so you can better understand how we got here from there, okay? So Twitter, 165 characters. I could be wrong. Last I knew it was like 165 characters. That's your maximum limit, right? So what they're doing is they're shortening your thought process. And the brain learns by repetition. There's so much I know about psychology, and it would take me days to be able to explain all this to you, but the brain works by repetition. That's how you learn. That's why in school you have to do something over and over and over and over. It's because you actually burn pathways into your brain. It's like an electrical signal that goes the same path over and over and over, and that's how you remember something. Okay, so when you do extra thick foil hat, well, thank you. So if you take this thought process and you shorten the thought process down, right, and you do that in a repetitive manner, you're actually going to overall shorten people's thought processes. That's the idea behind it. The other thing about psychology I wanted to bring up, and I'm glad I got here, I'm glad I remembered this, because I've seen this starting about 3 years ago or so on social media. I started noticing, like, the news stations and stuff like that, they would not just put something up, but they would give you like 3 options or 4 options. You know, what do you think of this? And they would say, you know, this, 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 or this. So now what they're doing is they're trying to take away what's the word? To think for yourself, your independent thought, your critical thought. That's what I was looking for. They're taking away your critical thought. That is an extremely important thing for them to do. And let me show you a good example why. Okay, during the big healthcare reform debate, they call it healthcare reform, which it wasn't, but during this, whether you want to call it Affordable Care Act or Obamacare or whatever you want to call it, during that whole debate, whether we should, whether we shouldn't, and all that, they didn't really they didn't give a lot of options, right? They talked about what was in the bill. They talked about whether they should have the bill or shouldn't have the bill and all that. But there was something that I really didn't see come up. And what I did not see come up, and again, that's because they were trying to guide the discussion. They didn't want people to have critical thought or independent thought about the situation. So they tried to guide people's thoughts and opinions about the situation. I apologize. They tried to guide people's opinions about the situation, their thoughts, but nobody, for the most part, really thought to mention what true healthcare reform would be. So instead of the government or taxpayers or whoever have to pay all these crazy prices for people's health care, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody or saying, you know, they should have it. What about to me, the only intelligent answer was to start going after these companies. Okay? It should not cost you $1,500 or God knows how much to go get a Band-Aid put on in an emergency room. Okay, but I didn't see anything. I didn't see any discussions about that. I just didn't. I mean, I did a few here and there. I'm blessed with I am blessed with friends that are critical thinkers and that think for themselves. I've been really blessed with a lot of those in my life. So I mean, I apologize for that. So I do see a little bit, or I did see a little bit of that argument, but it wasn't hitting the mainstream. And that's the whole idea, right? They want you to pick a team, and they want to choose which teams you choose from. It's the same when going for a president. It's the same thing, the same process, and everything else. So, I mean, a lot of people probably miss this, but there was only 2 parties allowed in the presidential debates in the last election. So they wouldn't let any of the other parties in, the Constitution Party, the whatever, you know, the different parties. they wouldn't let the other parties into these debates, right? You had Republican, Democrat, that was your choice. And that's what they're trying to do, and that's what they're trying to do now, right? This is all, the reason why I'm bringing this up is this is all going to play into what's going to be coming in our near future. They're going to be giving us a couple choices. We have to choose one either way. They're going to be playing games mainly through propaganda with the media to sway public opinion about the matter, and they're going to try and use public opinion and more or less peer pressure, like we're in school, to be able to push us into doing things that it's probably going to be against our best interest. If you don't think that's going on right now, that's what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine right now. That airplane, by the way, it appears that airplane was shot down not by a missile, but by 30 millimeter cannon rounds shot from a Su-27 aircraft. So that plot thickens as well. And I have been looking into that a little bit. I'm not ready to really to expound on it. Again, there are some things I know I can say, other things I'm not sure if I can say. So give me a day or two with it to weed all that stuff out, and hopefully I'll be able to produce to you some evidence that's undeniable that it was shot down out of the sky by another aircraft, that it was not a missile. Anyway, right away our government, through the media, through propaganda that was actually legalized not that long ago, are trying to sway people's opinion that we should just automatically blame Russia and they did it, and that's all there is to it. Bad Russia, bad. They're always picking who our enemies are supposed to be. That's nothing new. I remember that back. Well, I mean, I went through school in the 80s, so that was Cold War was still going on, and we were supposed to hate Russians and all that stuff. In the 90s, I guess we're supposed to hate the people in the Middle East, and so they're always trying to guide who we're supposed to like and who we're not supposed to like and all that. But the problem is now we're going to be divided amongst ourselves. I mean, that's always a problem, but we're going to be divided amongst ourselves, and it's probably going to be people that willingly will accept a vaccine against those that are kind of unsure about it, which would be not even my category. My category is don't come near me with that needle. So anyway, I wanted to point out earlier, I'm about done here, I wanted to point out earlier about how they're describing this, the serum, how they use the word, miracle in it, because I think that's going to come back. I think we're going to see that again, and it's going to be to try and persuade the public to take a vaccine in order to ensure that they don't get Ebola, or that this vaccine is going to save them from the Ebola that they already have. And I don't know what to tell you. Do follow God, talk to God about it, ask God. No vaccine for me. I'd rather prepare if this thing gets loose and really starts hitting us hard. I'm going to do my best to prepare, do my best to not get it in the first place. So, that's all we can do. Study, knowledge. Remember what I told you. Remember, number one, God, faith, spirituality. Talk to God. Do it today. Don't put it off. Not at all. You need to do it today. Talk to God. Get that straight. And start thinking about these things, and start thinking about how you're going to react and different moves that you can make, and just go down pathway and pathway and pathway. Just keep thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking. I've been doing it for years. Okay? And then you want to build your knowledge. You want to start studying things. You want to start learning about things. You want to start understanding how different things work, how you can make things, build things, fix things, build up that knowledge. And then after you have that knowledge of what you need to do, then you'll know what you need to do it, and you can start to physically prepare. So that would be my best advice for everybody. Spiritual, mental, knowledge or education than physical. Okay, and I will always tell people, because you always hear about, well, you can live 3 days without water, you can live these many days without food, light. They never talk about light. Always make sure that you have a light source. It's important. It could save your life. Okay? If you're in the dark, it doesn't matter what you have. If you're in the physical dark, whatever it is you have, you really can't put to much use. So anyway, that's all I got for you tonight. We ran a half an hour over. That's perfectly fine. I felt like this information was important to get out to you. May God be with you. May He walk with you, as I always say, and definitely be one with your spirit. We covered that in 1 Corinthians chapter 6 today. Be one with that spirit. It's of utmost importance. I love you all. I really do. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. All right? Hang in there. We'll get through this. I promise. Just got to hang in there. Let's do this. Good night, folks. I'll see you tomorrow.